Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 218 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed an artist from the DMV area. His name is The Humble Elder. I've been connected with him for over a year at this point. We've been working on some music behind the scenes that I'm very excited to drop very soon. One or two of those songs might be out by the time this episode drops. I'm not really sure, but we had Humble Elder on the show today, and it was a super cool conversation. I myself got to learn more about him. He talked about his beginnings in the church, with his whole family being involved, how that eventually led him to wanting to be an artist. He talked about his process of songwriting and recording, how he prefers to kind of delegate tasks to people that he feels can help elevate his work, like engineers and producers. He also lightly touched on what is next for him, including the songs we have together, but also another new single that's in the works. I'm just grateful to be connected with someone that has as much talent as he does and being able to collaborate with him. And it's been such a great experience working with him up to this point. So I'm excited to see, what we can do moving forward and really what he can do himself moving forward with all of his releases and everything he has coming in the future. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, welcome everyone to episode 218 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today we have someone who I consider a pretty multifaceted artist, someone that I've been working with on some music behind the scenes, which is super cool, and I'm super excited about it. The Humble Elder is here. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on? I'm doing all right. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man, and thanks for wanting to be on the show. And we've been in touch probably for about over a year now, I'd say at this point. Working on music.
Been a while,
yeah, we've been working on music. And I've just been, a big fan of what you've been doing. I'm glad to have you here. And I think this will be like a more in-depth discussion for us as well, to get to know you better. And we usually have, the guests start off by just giving some background. How did you get into music? How long have you been doing it? Just some basics for those that might not know you and what you do.
Yeah. Well, like Anthony said, I'm the Humble Elder. I go by Elder for short, either or. I grew up in a pretty musical family. My dad owned he owned a church long time ago when I was young, and so he did everything in the church, from playing the bass, the piano. He was multimedia. My mom was on the choir. Me and my siblings were dancers and singers and music artists. So we grew up heavily musical. I had a lot of just gospel around me, gospel music around me. So I'd say that's my beginning. I would say my creativeness started with me, dancing with the church. And I've always just had a passion for the music of it all. So
yeah. And where are you based out of, by the way? You're near Virginia, right? That area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically it's the DMV.
Yeah.
DC, Maryland, Virginia. I'm probably 30 minutes away from VA, but basically, if I needed to be in VA today, I could be there.
Yeah.
But I'm 20 minutes out of the city, so I live in Maryland.
Yeah.
To be specific.
Nice, man. And I've definitely had a lot of artists, tell me about, coming up in the church as well, and how important that was to them eventually, pursuing being an artist or just being involved in music in general. So even fast forwarding from that, where do you think was the real moment where you as an individual, you said, you wanted to give this artist thing a go, start writing songs, recording? Was there a certain moment, or you just kind of were led to that over time?
Honestly, I have super shitty memory, but this is a particular moment in my life where I do remember, and I was hanging out with my friends. I had just moved from my hometown in Maryland to where I went to college, and I was just hanging out with my two of my good friends, and I hadn't really like listened to much music outside of gospel really until I moved out at the age of like 19, I think. But yeah, I was really heavily focused, like listening to gospel and things that weren't like sinful, if you could say. So I moved, and then I met like some cool people, and I heard this song by Saba. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was called Stony. And ever since then, I was like, whoa! Like I literally said out loud, like, whoa, there's music like this. And I was like, wait, if this dude can make music like this, maybe I could too. And I always just felt like music was a little bit singly dimensioned, like the music that I was listening to, and I was so tired of it. So I was like, I'm just gonna make my own music.
Yeah.
That's really how it went.
Yeah, and that's a great way to kind of solve that problem. Is like, well, let me take matters in my own hands. You know what I mean, and do that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and it's good to hear. Like when you find somebody like a really cool artist, you discover someone, and then they inspire you as well to kind of do the same thing in your own way. So that's really cool. And total side note, I'm waiting on Saba to drop his album with no ID that he's been working on for like 5 years. I'm like, where the hell is this album?
See, bro, but, literally, like, yeah. And I guess like that. Yeah, I hate that, bro. I'm like, I know that hard work and good work takes time, but I'm like, bro, please, can you drop your shit?
Yeah, apparently they made the album and then they put out a couple songs and then they scrapped it and redid the whole thing. So now they're gonna put out like the new version of the album eventually, like this year. So
the whole thing is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
God damn.
I'll have to show you this other artist I discovered. His name's Dante Thomas. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's from Portland. If you like Saba, like people like that, you'd probably love his music as well. And he makes very like conscious stuff and just very like vulnerable music, which I love.
Please, yes, yeah. I love people. I don't know about nowadays, but people used to love talking shit about like conscious rap.
Yeah.
But I think it just has to do with who's doing it. If you can do it tastefully, I think it sounds really good.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. And I love that, man. And for you, like when you, let's just say even from when you started writing and recording up until now, like how do you think your process has evolved as far as like how you write songs and how you intake inspiration to create the songs in general?
Yeah. So, I would say in the beginning, I was actually looking back at my old raps and I was kind of cringing, but I think in the beginning I would just kind of go in and I'd have like a one-liner in my head, and based off the one-liner I would just be like, all right, I'm gonna make this fire, like I'm gonna make this shit like go crazy, and I would just try to find like the most like cool and like I get not like shock worthy one-liners, but it would just be a full rap basically of just like a bunch of things that I would consider clever, clever one-liners. Just imagine a bunch of one-liners all just stacked up on top of each other, basically. No like rhyme or reason, just like, all right, that sounded cool, let me just plop that in here real quick. I'd say that's how I really first started, because it was I think it was like motivated by wanting to sound cool, or like what I thought was sounded cool in my head. As I developed my writing and my preferences, I think I stuck with the like one-liner thing. If I found one line to be super like fire, for lack of a better word, if I'm like, damn, like that really goes, I'll write that down and kind of sit on it. And if anything like flows after that it's hard to explain, because like in the past there was, I guess in shorter words I could say like I didn't really ever have direction back then. And now I try to like, instead of it just sounding cool, like I want it to feel cool and look cool on paper. So like I just try to keep the theme going, and if it's like I just try to keep a theme overall, not just like a bunch of one-liners stacked up on top of each other.
Yeah. And I feel like that goes into, finding your voice as an artist too, because there's a lot of trial and error that has to happen like at the beginning stages where it's almost like you're trying to do too much at the beginning because you're so excited and you just want to make things and create things. And then you step back and you're like, okay, I kind of got to peel it back a little bit. Maybe I overcooked it just a bit. And I think for artists, because I'm not a songwriter, I can't write songs. So I look at people that can do that and I'm like, you're incredible no matter what. But like, I almost feel like there's a challenge to kind of balance everything out where you're trying to tell a story, you're trying to put like punchlines and like double entendres in there as well and make it all make sense and have a narrative at the same time. It's like that's hard to do for anybody, especially when you're starting out, but you do get better over time. It's just like continuing to do that. So it kind of sounds like for you that's how it's been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think so. Like I really did like in the past literally just write and it's not like this is not necessarily bad at all, but like I used to just write what came to my head and I'll be like, yeah, like that shit goes, like it's fire, like I did it, like I wrote a song, just like you said. It feels like kind of you want to just be able to say I wrote a song, I finished the song, instead of it being like a piece of work that you really like took time out and put your heart into. Yeah. And it does sound corny, but really it does affect the way that you write if you like are taking your time rather than just trying to make a banger.
100%. And have you always been someone that, you kind of just tend to work alone, like record alone, write alone? Or have you always been cool with like having somebody else in there, maybe an engineer, producer, or just another collaborator to kind of, kick ideas off of?
Yeah. So I'm used to like working solo. The writing, well, I started off recording my own and all that, but I figured that I just am not good at it. So, I'm like, I'll just go ahead and pay the people who can do it. Like, so like in regards to like the production aspect of my music, I like for my vocals, I get someone to like mix that. For the beats, again, I get someone, my boy Anthony with the fire. He's like, if people, you are, I'd say like my main contributor in like my beats. Like my main contributor. So I get like for the writing, that's me. I'd say I haven't really worked with anybody until like very, very recently on writing songs as a collaborative. Yeah. So yeah, it's usually just like me, I'd say, in the writing, but with like the beats and the voice production, all that, I do like source out and Hey
there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. And it's good to delegate tasks too, because I feel like we can do a lot of things ourselves, or even if we're able to, maybe sometimes it's better to, get somebody else involved and have that be a thing.
Agree.
So yeah.
Because I want to say, like, I'm not saying it as like as like a cocky move, because I would very much rather people like be on the side with me supporting and stuff, because you really can't do it on your own. It's just kind of impossible. If you want to make really great work, you can't put all the like work on your back, because it's just not it's not productive for any human to overwork themselves. So I would prefer to have people to work with for sure.
Absolutely. And are you more of an in-home studio type person? Like you like to record at home, or do you care if you're at like an actual studio, like paying for studio time? Has that ever been like a thing you have a preference for?
Yeah, so I say I prefer, honestly, it might sound crazy, but I prefer to pay for services. Like studio time, like that's something that you like just can't go. I don't know. For me, I really care a lot about like the quality that I put out. And so like no, there's no shade to anybody who does do that, but yeah, I just like my stuff to sound crisp.
Yeah.
I like it to have a certain, if I'm coming with a certain level of writing and like, all that, I'd like to have a certain level of mix.
Yeah.
Not to sound cocky, but I need some good work on my stuff, so I'm willing to pay for it for sure.
And 9 times out of 10, I feel like you get what you pay for as well. Like the investment is worth it because you're working with somebody that is at the level that you want to be at. Or someone that's going to take your work to the next level as well. Obviously, I feel like there's horror stories that people have of like, I was working with this person that just fucked my whole thing up. Hopefully, you've never had that, but
oh no, I
have. Okay, well, so here's one for you. Do you want to share any horror stories? Anything you want to share?
What? I will.
Okay.
So this is when I'm really first starting.
Yeah.
And it's not like super bad, but I say as a starting artist, it's something that really could have you just like, I'm over it. Like I'm not doing this shit no more. So, it's another one of those where I work really hard to write the music, and I have a fire song that I feel like I could just put out and people receive very well. And I'm just at the stage now where I need a good producer. It's like you're relying on the production work, and now like that's all you're working for. You got the song, you got the idea. So I got up in this guy's studio, we're recording all this stuff, and honestly, I don't really have bad experiences really, but I got into this guy's studio, and I'm recording all this stuff, hours and hours of work. He's like, it's just one of those stories where like the producer is selling you false dreams. And he's telling you all these things. But eventually, the dude he moves out of the state, and I'm hitting him up. I'm like, hey, so what's up with the song that we were recording for a couple of hours and I paid you for and all this stuff? And he, I'm kind of like being a little choppy with it because I don't want to be super specific, but. So he moved. Before he moved, he told me like, I can mix your stuff, I can mix your voice, and I can do this. And here's the flat rate of for recording, mixing, all this. And then he moves. So I contact him. I'm like, hey, bro, like, what's good with the vocals? Can I get the vocals? I'm about to release a song, bro. Can I get the vocals? And he's like, oh yeah, all right, cool. So I just moved, but it'll be this amount, certain amount that I gotta do because it's just raw vocals. I can't just give you the vocals. He gave me some excuse as to why it's not like I don't even think he mentioned the deal he gave me before. Maybe like he forgot he gave it to me, but he's like, here's you gotta pay an extra whatever you paid for the studio time, you gotta pay that double, and then I can send it to you next. But otherwise, I can just give you raw vocals. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Don't even worry about it. Just keep the vocals, keep the whole take. So basically, 5 hours of work just down the drain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man.
That's probably, and like I said, I don't really deal with bad stuff, but that's probably the worst one I've ever experienced.
I've always found that I've never actually worked with somebody like that because I usually would spot this. At least now, I feel like when you're starting, it's kind of hard to spot the signs sometimes. But I always look at it now. I'm like, if I even get any type of vibe like that, I'm immediately just ending the whole thing. As quick as I can get out of this situation, I'm just gonna end it and find an exit plan and just keep moving forward. I feel like when you're starting out though, everybody's so vulnerable too, because you're trying to find your footing and you don't really know all the ins and outs of everything either. So it's like it's a lot easier, I feel like, to get taken advantage of, which is super unfortunate. And I feel like the less horror stories that you have, it's like the more fortunate you are as an artist, especially like starting out. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm sure we all got at least one. So, and I usually
I
don't
know,
bring,
right? And
yeah,
it literally makes you just like, yeah, I'm over it. I don't want to do it anymore.
yeah,
Or like very selective with who you choose, and that can hinder you from making some good work, honestly, because not everybody is like that.
yeah,
And I mean, you don't really lose anything when you think about it. You know, you don't really. It's more like, well, the way that I took it at that point, you just got to take that shit as like practice.
yeah,
You know, you went up in there and you spent the time, you did spend the money, but like it's as if I like to compare it to like me getting a Planet Fitness membership. You know, you go to the gym and you're not perfect the first couple weeks,
yeah,
but hey, you figure out a little moment, you get your momentum and you get your like strategies, and you can start clocking people and seeing their intentions. And if nothing else, you practice how you really do want to like hear it on the record. So now you know what you won't do, what you will do for your next time recording it.
It's like learning the lesson and then applying it later on, so you don't go down that route again. Which I think,
ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're down to the last few questions here. These are ones I ask on every episode. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
I would probably say, like, I like to think I would like to say that I have no regrets, and I wouldn't do things differently. But I would say, if anything, maybe like go harder, because like people love to tell you that you can't make a career, you can't make money out of like stuff like this, which it is like very slim to none almost, especially back then 10 years ago. But we're in a whole different era of like art and just like the digital age has really like blown a lot of things up. So if I could tell myself 10 years ago anything, it would be go harder, and like trust yourself really, because you just don't know what could happen. And it like the end goal really for me isn't even to make money necessarily. That would be cool on the side to make some money, but really the music is to, like, we were talking about before, be expressive and vulnerable, and like just express your heart, like with the medium that you have. And that's what probably I would say something along those lines. Like go hard and stay true, keep staying true to yourself, and be vulnerable.
Nice. And if we flip that then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself musically and in life in general?
I could see myself 10 years from now, I'll be like almost 40, bro.
You and me both.
We getting up there, man. I would say maybe I would probably see myself for sure writing, continuing to write. I don't know whether that may be writing for like film, writing other people's music, writing for music for movies. For sure writing. Yeah, I could see myself writing and having some sort of like creative company that like facilitates young talent or something. That would be cool.
Possibilities are pretty endless with that, where it can go. So, yeah, man.
Literally, with the writing, you could literally do anything, I'd say.
Absolutely. And do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners out there?
Words of wisdom. Let's see. Now, I'm one corny fellow, so I would just say, truly be true to yourself. Like, be true to yourself. And, like, every feeling that you have in your gut, like, you got to follow it. And there's a balance to everything, of course. So find your balance, but follow your gut Stay true to yourself, because I mean, our feelings are like, they're indicators to something, and so yeah. It's pretty broad, but
Yeah.
I feel like that hits a lot of points. Like, follow your gut.
Yeah, absolutely. And I forgot to ask this earlier before these last few questions, but is there anything that you have coming up, anything you're excited about that you want to let people know about before we get out of here?
Oh, yes. So much stuff. Honestly, firstly, thank you, Anthony.
Oh, no problem, man.
You've helped to facilitate a lot of creativity and growth within me. Honestly, like, you send so much fire, like so many good beats. So yeah, lots of new stuff. I got two of, like, for sure things that I have written and recorded with you, Anthony, that hopefully could be released within this month.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be released last month, but I'm sorry about that again.
No.
But yeah, hopefully this month I'll be releasing those things that I have. I'm collaborating with you, and I got another single that should be done either this month as well or August. So awesome. I got three things within this next, like, 3-month period that should be coming soon.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I got to say, man, I'm happy to be involved and happy that, we're working together, and I'm excited because me and you have heard the songs, but I can't wait for everybody else to hear them because they're awesome, man. And it's going to be super cool. But man, thank you again for, coming on the show today, and we're going to keep working together and keep doing your thing, man, because I really think what you're doing is awesome. And we'll have to do this again soon if you're down, man.
For sure. Most definitely. And I appreciate you for having me on the show. I listened to a few, and I was really excited to come on and talk to you, man. So thanks again for having me.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. That was episode 218. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.